gorgeous! I'm Nadya Lintang Larasati, and welcome to my analysis video of intercultural communication in the movie The Karate Kid 2010. But before that, let me give you a brief explanation about this movie. Without further ado, let's check it out! Trey Parker, a 12 years old boy who moved from Detroit to Beijing and struggled to fit with the new environment. He got bullied by kung fu skilled kids, but he got help by Mr. Han, a maintenance worker who later became his mentor. With his guidance, Trey competes in a life-changing tournament. Trey's culture shock is overwhelming. From the moment he lands in Beijing, everything feels different, from the language until the habit of using chopsticks. It shows how his excitement turns into frustration, but then gradually transforms into understanding and adaptation. This movie contains many scenes that represent the stereotypes experienced by Trey Parker after moving to Beijing. Now, let's slide up to see example of each stereotypes in this wonderful movie. Let's get started. Firstly, this movie shows the stereotype that Chinese kids is forced to be great and talented. It shows how Mei Ying is practiced so hard to be excellent at playing violin because her parents forced her to get into the best musical school in Beijing. Secondly, the stereotype showed when Trey sees elder Chinese men playing tennis or ping pong. He underestimates his skills based on his age and appearance. So Trey challenged him to a round of game, but turns out he's very good at playing ping pong. The next one is cultural identity. Cultural identity is shared sense of identity in a cultural group. It's related to ethnicity, beliefs, and many more. So, what is the cultural identity represent from both American and Chinese culture in this movie? Let's check it out! First one, traditional Chinese philosophy becomes central to Trey's development. Through Mr. Han's guidance, Trey learns about qi, balance, and inner strength that feels strange to his American mindset, but then gradually change how he sees the world. Next is when being curious about Trey's braided hair. Trey's cultural identity as an African American who has curly braided hair with dark skin, while Ming's cultural identity as Chinese who has monolith eyes with fair skin. For the next one is Hofstede's cultural dimension. Hofstede's cultural dimension is a theory that identifies 6 basic issues how societies face when organizing themselves. This theory is also represented in this movie. So, what are these? Let's move on to the next slide. First one, power distance is the perceived degree of inequality among people. The superiors have more control over the subordinate. In this movie, it represents by Mr. Lee as the Kung Fu mentor. He has a strong control over his students. Next, long-term versus short-term orientation. In the movie, Mr. Han teaches Trey with patience and values long-term development over quick results. This is contrast to Trey, who wants a quick solution and impatient in learning Kung Fu. Now, conflict. Trey also faced some conflicts. First, language barriers. When the first time he met Cheng, he can't communicate in Chinese, so with zero knowledge, he punched Cheng, not knowing that Cheng is very good at Kung Fu. Second is the conflict in social norms. The friendship between Trey and Mei Ying is forbidden by Mei Ying's father. That's because Mei Ying's father doesn't want Mei Ying to be influenced by a weird kid from another country who seems bad like Trey. Now, from the cultural aspect and conflicts that we have seen, are there any ways to overcome them? What are they? let's move on to the next slide. Number 1, doing cultural activities. In this movie, Dre visits a cultural festival with his mom and Mr. Han, also Mei, and it's really amazed him. It is also educated him with a lot of new knowledge about Chinese culture. Number 2, learn the local language. Dre genuinely learned Chinese because he wanted to take Mei out. By learning Chinese, he could comfortably talk to Mei's father to ask for permission. Number 3, willingness and open-mindedness. This is shown by how Dre always tries to accept and adapt to Chinese culture. From the other side, Mei also doesn't think Dre is weird and not a racist. She secretly helps Dre, who has difficulty accepting the new culture. Number 4, building a relationship. With Dre building a relationship with Mei and Mr. Han, this really helped him to accept his new life. They also became the bridge between Dre and Chinese culture because Mei and Mr. Han understood both cultures. In conclusion, through understanding, cultural differences can become bridges rather than barriers. Thank you and have a nice day!